Hey, how you doing? In the name of Christ, it's your girl Cranky Karabo, or it's animated for Jesus, depending on what you're looking at. Hope you're good, peachy, stellar, and in a neat little bunch. If you're not, well, welcome to the party. I do apologize for my sunscreen. Its white cast is going to be flashing back at you. And the raggedy wig, it's a wig. We all know that I'm all about that wig business because the hair underneath sucks. But hey, it is what it is. Okay, look, y'all. The hair underneath needs unraveling. I need to remove the braids underneath and redo them, but that's irrelevant. People are in danger. Look, okay, I made a vow with Jesus Christ recently because I knew that I needed to. I'm trying very hard to rock up gentle in my messages and not really kind of throw my toys out the cart, because I'm dealing with a lot of spiritual war. I'm trying to be gentle. I'm trying to snatch souls out of the flames of hell. So I am uploading content on a YouTube channel, on YouTube channels across the board that are going absolutely nowhere because first and foremost, it's the place where I've been uploading content all along, so I'm not going. Secondly, I anticipate that at some point my content is going to get viewed, despite the severity of shadow banning, despite the severity of blockages. And thirdly, I'm actually kind of rooting for the very animals that are doing this to me. Okay, the very people that are shadow banning me, closing me apart. I'm trying to appeal to, never mind their consciences, but just their self-preservation. At the end of the day, hell is real and they're going there, hitting the ground running, and I'm trying to snatch them. So it's ideal for me to come here with a very soft disposition instead of just kind of harsh, because I have been kind of harsh. Indeed, I have been dealt quite a cruel blow. So with that having been put out there as a caveat, if I do at some point throw my toys out the cart and I start to get yelly and screamy, have mercy on me. The horrific mistreatment on my person is like a whole thing. Not only that, there's like a danger that's just lurking, hovering around in the streets. And my thing about that is, who are you married to women? Like, I am so sad for women, but at the same time, I'm also like, you know, nothing happens in a vacuum. Women, when things fall apart, there's always multiple factors to account for why things have fallen apart. And when one does introspection, looks deep within themselves, they can sort of kind of find the root cause to why certain things are happening. I'm a woman. Sorry, I'm choking. Must be my coffee. It's got pepper in it. I'm a woman too, okay? So that is the reason why I kind of feel bad for women. But look, God has given... Okay, let me just put this out there. I have a ministry online. I chat about the things of heaven. I would never stand at a pulpit at a church and preach because I am a woman. And God does not allow women to preach or to exercise authority over a man. So my YouTube channel is the best place to vocalize my thoughts, my sentiments concerning the things of God, and of course to evangelize. I'm doing the work of an evangelist here. This is the work of an evangelist, okay? Coupled with the fact that I am really doing everything in my power to try and reach women for Jesus. Because y'all, women, you know what? Hey, you're in danger, man. You're in danger. I am trying to give counsel to women because I'm a woman. And that's, if at all, I'm going to be giving advice, counsel, imparting knowledge, wisdom. It really is to other women. That's the allowability. That's the leg room that God has given me. Other women. But women, you are not listening to me because you have got agendas. Whatever they might be, they are just oozing off you, coming off like a gas. And I have not been able to permeate the loudness of the resistance of my person. But it's okay. It's to be expected. All right. One last time. It's to be expected. We're in the last days. We are in the last days, okay? And people are just not going to be able to endure sound doctrines, and having itching ears, they're going to gather for themselves a great number of teachers to teach them what the itching ears want to hear. So it's to be expected that people will have hostilities against my content. Even though I'm really like it does not make sense why anybody would have hostilities, because I'm trying to snatch souls even from the flames of hell. But let's just get straight into the gist of the matter, the chat, the conversation. Okay? Alrighty. Men are supposed to lead, alright? You know that you're at the very end of the world, at the very end of the end of the end of the world, when things are just discombobulated and they're upside down. Good is called evil, evil is called good, and there's really nothing giving that makes any historical sense anymore. The fabric of society, that which we held fast to, that makes everything beautiful, when it's just thrown to the waters like it doesn't matter, we all see that things have really completely fallen apart. So the judgment on Adam was that he would try to rule Eve. And Eve, her judgment was that her desire from now on will be for her husband. When people are not born again, those gender curses, they're gender curses. The ruling by Adam of Eve, and the basically kind of namby-pamby, thirsty, irrevocably just docile nature of a woman in the company of a man is a thing. There are extremes to docility where men are concerned, and there are also extremes to rulership or headship by men, right, that are unbiblical. The first and foremost head above us all is God. He's Jesus. He is above us all, and then men are underneath Christ and we are underneath men. We are given explicit instructions to submit to husbands or men, the patriarchy essentially, as women, and not be recalcitrant, rebellious, and pushing back against that, to basically just honor what roles God gave us. But we do get God has veto power over the authority that men have over us, insofar as men are ungodly. If these men are expecting us to submit under heinous, ungodly feats, we can completely ignore them. We have all the right under heaven to comprehensively just ignore them and go straight to God, right? But men do feel an inherent sense of ownership to the submission of women. They feel ownership to it. They feel like they're the rightful title deed owners to it, and indeed they are. But insofar as they're godly, we have got no prerogative as women to honor men, respect them, neither submit to them or just give them any kind of elevated position when they are flagrantly and comprehensively, from the east all the way to the west, disrespectful of God and anticipatory that you as a woman should also have no regard for Jesus when they are acting in ways so as to cause your spiritual compromise. Then you gotta walk away, right? Similarly too, men don't owe women coverage or adoration or respect or acknowledgement or even chivalry when these women are just flagrant, blatant, comprehensive ignorers of God, what the Lord will have them do. So in other words, men are not to protect a lying, thieving, licentious, sensual, just abrupt, Medusa sort of kind of woman. They don't have to protect that woman, because to protect a woman whose head has got snakes for hair is to do that at the peril of sober women, and therefore the destruction of society at large. Destructive women who are cantankerous and who have no respect for gender roles in the sight of Christ are destructive to society at large. They teach other women trash, essentially. They inspire women to adore manipulation, smooth speak, butter tongues. They tell other women to pride themselves in their sexuality sufficiently enough for them to end up extremely sexually proclivious, promiscuous, long story short. They teach other women trash and therefore have removed from themselves the protections that the patriarchy award women. They should be enemies of men, regarded as such, received as hostiles when they're in the room. They do not get to have the same protections under the patriarchy as women who are sober and respectful of rules, right? And who are sober and respectful of God and his piety and what he has to say about our piety. Because if these men ubiquitously and indiscriminately just protect both godly and ungodly women in the same blanket, we as godly women don't have an avenue of escape. We cannot breathe. We cannot breathe because these Jezebels will literally consume us whole. Do you understand? They eat us whole. They are louder, so their voices are far more readily heard. And they are more influential because they tend to operate with that which is shiny, it is ornate, it is seemly, it's comely, it's attractive, it's instant gratification. And mankind, being that we are born dead in trespasses and sins, naturally gravitate towards instant gratification and ill-gotten gain. Okay, so therefore they tend to get our daughters fast and furious before we can get our daughters. They get our sisters first. They get the ears of other women easier. It is therefore the responsibility of men to essentially protect sober girls from crazy ones, because women can be bridled by nothing but the enforced authority of men. that they walk in responsibly that God has given them. When men essentially put their feet down, women gotta sit, okay? They have to sit. Even the most androgynous of women will sit under a successful patriarch. That's what I'm getting at. God has given them that superpower, if you will. And so there is an inherent suggestion in the godliness, the authority awarded men by God. There is an implied understanding there that men can successfully bring order to society insofar as they are godly, even in the ecosystems of really treacherous women. Okay, but when we are now chilling, as we are now chilling in these last days, all right, there is a discombobulation, a confounding, if you will, of all that which has kept our society together, not with sticky tape, but with the holiness of God, with the very fortifying, solidifying structures of God. It's all just falling apart. Men, therefore, very unfortunately, are in support of bad girls, and they are thriving as a result at the expense of good girls. And good girls are at the mercy of, never mind bad girls, but bad men too. So there's literally no escape. All of us who are trying to do a better thing are in a severity of trouble. There is no safety for the good girl or for the godly girl, for the respectful girl, the woman that understands how things should be done, be she in the world or in Christ. There's always there are some women that from the very get-go, man, like they have no respect for anything. And then there are some girls that even before they come to Christ, they just kind of get stuff, okay? Like they kind of get it. And they want to hold fast to those traditional old school rules. And with us being lorded over with an iron fist by ungodly men who desire rudimentary authority given them by God to essentially run a household, we are in trouble as women who are better than most. If I'm sorry to have to use that terminology, but frankly, when we have not fallen apart from the sting of feminism, we are better than most women, and we are sadly in so much danger because of that curse on Adam. You are going to want to rule your wife, and that curse on Eve. You are going to be in a severity of thirst where a man is concerned, to a point even of potentially ignoring what God has to say. Just a worship of a man instead of an honor of him above God. This man of which being now this graven image in the life of a woman. That is the big risk by women. The risk in our lives is to make men graven images that we worship, while the risk in men is to abuse women that don't have it coming because they feel entitled to them. And these women are unprepared to capitulate to the ungodly whims of these men, but they have just been given so much legroom to spread themselves thinly in these streets with all of their indiscretion that they don't think there's anything wrong with what they're doing. They're just getting what it is that apparently belongs to them. I feel bad for, I'm mourning. I am mourning for myself because I feel like I am in a casket before I even really truly die. But I'm also crying for other women like me, and I'm also crying for women at all, be they like me or not. Because yes, indeed, we have responsibilities as women to honor God and to be better than the extreme feminist, okay? But what we are falling prey to at the mercy of men who want to rule, even when we are trying to be godly, is, guys, like, women are in danger. We're in trouble. But you see, women, the trouble that you are in, that we are in, is because of your ungodliness. God made Eve for Adam because it was not good for Adam to be alone. So God made him a helper, meaning that we aid the godly agenda of men along. They don't successfully walk in it apart from us. It is written in God's word that husbands must listen to their wives if at all their prayers are not going to be hindered. If they don't listen to women, their prayers get hindered. This is a symbiotic relationship, a mutually beneficial relationship, where it is that the godliness of a man is enabled along by a woman and vice versa. Honoring Christ is the work of both of us, men and women, and we help each other to successfully do it insofar as we're godly, right? Therefore, a man cannot successfully, in a patriarchy that has no women at all, truly hold fast to godliness. They can't. They literally can't. There is a man in the Bible by the name of David who displayed this perfectly. David was a godly man. So godly was he that he was called a man after God's own heart. And yet he, in his unique manliness, still honoring God, loving God, acknowledging the God of Isaac, Abraham, and Jacob. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob still could not stay his hand from committing genocide in a town until a woman stayed him, Abigail. The story of David and Nabal and Abigail speaks volumes to the helping power of a woman when she is sufficiently godly in the life of a man. She can stay him from some of the most heinous acts of treachery in these streets. She can stay him from committing murder. She can stay him from abandoning children. She can stay him from doing the most just by simply being godly. Abigail was godly and negotiated with David and basically calmed him down. It's written in God's word that a gentle answer turns away wrath. Please go and read the story of David and Nabal and Abigail in the scriptures. I don't want to get into it at depth, but basically David in his anger was about to go and commit genocide in a town, and Abigail successfully stayed him. She convinced him not to get all that blood on his hands because she foresaw that, seeing as women are more emotionally in tune, she foresaw that David would satiate his bloodthirst for now, instant gratification essentially, but then only to go on later to be in severe regret over the blood guilt, in severe regret for having done what he did at a woman. That lack of temperance in David was stayed by a woman who successfully convinced him. And David was able, being a godly man, to calm down because he listened to her. Something that keeps on getting counseled to men. Listen to women that your prayers might not be hindered. Okay? When you sin against God and you just keep walking in that perpetual sin, your prayers get hindered because your relationship with God gets compromised. So therefore, if a woman has power to stay a man from continuing to sin, that means that she is enabling his prayers to be effervescent and successful and therefore avail much, because the effective fervent prayer of a righteous man avails much. That's what's good. So when the Lord then made Eve for Adam to be a helper suitable, she was there to not only help him along in just being a man in the household and taking care to the affairs of her household, she was there to help him along spiritually too. To not be low-key kind of incontinent and barbaric and just doing the most of what you want to do. She was there to help him realize when he was basically acting out of line concerning God. We all have a unique individual responsibility to worship God. We have to account to God alone, right? So we, like it's written in the Proverbs, like iron, we need to sharpen iron. As iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. All right? So women have a responsibility to sharpen men unto godliness, and so too do men have a responsibility to sharpen women unto godliness. A bad woman can't do that. She's rottenness in the bones of a man. She rather approves of his insanity. All right? And so therefore, this propensity towards barbarism that is unstayed by the calming effects of a woman over a man's wrath can literally burn all of society down. And when men burn society, we're all done for. That's why I'm saying, women, I feel horrible for you. I feel really bad because we're all in danger now, but you sort of kind of are to blame for the calamities you are enduring at the hands of your husbands. These men are barbarically, exquisitely, and astronomically evil. Oh my goodness. They are so evil. Like, yes, like it, but like if there is no Abigail to stay David from committing genocide, David just kills, and your men are killing. They are laying society's waste. They are entitled, and they are taking everything they want because that's just what Adam was cursed to do at the fall. Rule women, and the nth degree of that. We see it in the last days with entitled men that will not take no for an answer. But they never would have gotten to that insane extreme if women were not complacent with their sin. If women did not make, like if women had historically made like Abigail and stopped a man from committing genocide, because don't you see, you're going to be guilty. You have all been so proud in your wickedness, women, that you have made your men butchers. You have made your men irrevocably, irrecoverably, and unforgivably murderous, homicidal, of anything that disquiets them. They are evil in ways that are insurmountable, and frankly, the world has to end. To salvage the remnant of men and women that are still sober, it's getting smaller and smaller. And to also save you women from continuing, to drop like dominoes, wasted, souls exsanguinated from out of your bodies prematurely by these men who just take what they want because they have allowed themselves to get so devastatingly evil that they could not even attach a conscience to filthy feats that they walk in. Bafazi, nyanzwela, bandla. Nyanzwela, I feel sorry for you, even though you did this to yourselves, and I am not only feeling sorry for you, but nami, I'm a victim. I'm a victim now by, like, this here is like shrapnel that flies at the sight of an explosion that goes and hits the heart of someone that was very far away from the explosion, but the shards, the shrapnel just went and sprayed this radius until people just caught strays and died. Like, women that are trying to do better are catching these shrapnel strays in their necks, their jugulars, their wrists, their hearts. Like, women are dying in their like gargantuan numbers, in their voluminous numbers. Do you understand what I'm saying? That have not had it coming because of the severity of entitlement that is in your men, the men of which have been just left in a murderous spree, because a bad woman will always congratulate a man that is hurting another woman. Insofar as there's enough jealousy in this woman against that other woman, you don't see the domino effect, the ramifications, the consequences, on all of society in totality. Eventually, you're just uniquely looking at your own concentrated, inward-focused jealousy on this individual too much to realize that there's more of you where they came from. There are more women just leaving men in their unbridled, unhelped state, with no Abigail coming through to stay them from finishing what under heaven it is that they commenced. Y'all need to understand, people are in trouble, okay? Women are in danger. Do you understand? And this danger that women are in is as a result of the nth degree graduation by men. Men basically just graduating to an nth degree of so much crazy with nobody bridling it, that we are just dying. Like, the Bible says that women who marry men who get born again inside marriages while the man is still an unbeliever, the scriptures make it evident that the best way to reach this man is with your peaceable and quiet spirit, which is precious in the sight of the Lord. We reach ungodly men. We reach ungodly men for Jesus by simply being godly. We reach ungodly men for Christ by being godly. And so therefore, if you can succeed to reach an ungodly man for Christ by being godly, do you not see that we have a job, we have a responsibility as women? We have a massive call on our lives to keep society balanced, to keep men sober, because absent of the potency and the force of a woman, a godly one in the life of a man, even a godly man, he will do the most. He will do the most. Do you understand? It's not that they are entirely and comprehensively incontinent apart from women, but God did create us for that purpose, to be helper suitables, including helping them along in the journey of godliness. So when you just leave them, yo guys, we're in danger. I'm in danger, and I'm not really actually in danger, but the harm's way I am in, that God is going to inevitably snatch me out of, is the fault of men, and it's the fault of women. We are to be helper suitables. You cannot just sit back and watch this malevolent rise of entitlement in men. You can't just sit back and do nothing. Like, what in the world? What in the world is going on? How are you at ease? I feel so. I am single at 30. I'm not 39 anymore. I'm 40 now. I'm single, okay? I could have been married by now, but I'm not. And I am starting to wake up to realize that what in the world would I have married if I had married without coming to these convictions? What would end up being, guys, I feel bad for you women. I feel horribly bad for you because I don't know what you are married to, you guys. Like, I'm sorry. Your husbands, the men that you are dating, that you are marrying, are just so evil. Like, I don't know what's going on. But all I know is that nto eng tatelletseng morao ase monna o single ase banna ba single ke banna ba. Okay, I needed to use the bathroom. I'm relieved now. Yes, the thing that is costing me any kind of peace are not single men, it's married men. It's your husbands. And while that can cause you as women to be like proper women, that's the problem. Like, hey, women want to be loved, okay? We understand that in this world, there are women basnang maitse woman. But they all over. They don't care. Your husband karing eshainang kaufel. Utlashela some chick in the office, and this chick, just insofar as it's convenient for her somehow, umupatella rente or whatever, she will be happy to go and crush your soul. But understand this, on the come up, please, like, can we have a discussion? Out of scheme saka kaufela sa dichomi. High school, university, wherever it is that I was at, out of all the women that I hung out with, there isn't even one, not even one. I literally cannot account for, actually no, correct, I stand correct, only one. Here, there we go. There was only one. And I've had a plethora of friends. Babangat, don't look at me today having nobody. Don't look at me today kisnati show me. I've been stabbed in the back. Women have done the most where I'm concerned because we are in the last days. People are crazy. They're losing their minds. All right. But before people became essentially the spawn of Satan, walking around unprepared to acknowledge their own consciences, my girls, there isn't even a single one that was ever at ease, ever content with the prospect of being with somebody else's boyfriend, or husband, worse, especially husband. All my girls, high school, varsity, corporate South Africa, wherever it is that I was working, that I gathered for myself, friends, they all, all of them had this rule that they would never be with a married man. I've only known two, actually, friends that were messing with married men out of the plethora of women that were in my friendship circle. The plethora of them that were in my friendship circle, Shazi, the distractions around me are just agitating, like, to say the least, but let me just carry on speaking. Okay, if out of a crew of anyway, let me just get this message out. If in clumps of girls that I was with, most of us did not want to be with anybody else's man, it says that the mistress phenomenon, the side piece issue, albeit being prevalent and annoying, irritating, men will always prosper to find a side piece, okay? They're good at searching them out. They are excellent at they do excursions in the wilderness and go into cracks and crevices of caves and successfully locate women that are happy to be second best. They find them, they're everywhere, but they are frankly not the majority of women. They just aren't. 3, I'm coming up with, I'm realizing one more now in my mind. One of the girls that was a side piece mistress, she was a career mistress, like she was this young 25-year-old black woman, and she was the mistress of this old white man, and like she was happy to, like, she was his mistress as at her 25th birthday. She could have been his mistress since she was 22, and this dude like set her up or whatever. Okay, that was the one case. And then there was actually four women, now that I'm thinking about it. The other one was this 24-year-old woman friend of ours that started working a job as a personal assistant somewhere, and then she started sleeping with her boss, had a whole relationship with her boss, and even gave him a child. Okay, then there was one of my friends slash colleagues when I was working for MT, and she did not entertain or humor the prospect of cheating on her husband with a married man. So both of them were married, but she was deeply considering it because she was in a bored season of her marriage or whatever. but she did not go through with it. However, she was deeply considering it. I then had another friend who only once the man passed away in some car accident confessed because she had no one to cry on the shoulder of. No one was there to comfort her. She was all by herself, grieving a boyfriend that is the husband of somebody else, could not go to the funeral because she was the side. So she had to mourn by herself, and eventually she broke out and said, Karabo, I have something to tell you. And I was there to comfort her for the loss of her boyfriend, right? Why did that friend of mine, why did that friend of ours decide not to speak even about her affair? It's because she was among those that held fast at some point to the fact that she'd never be with a married man. She was, however, seduced sufficiently enough to end up accommodating one, dated one who then died on her, and bereft, she then opened up. Out of like all the many ladies that I had for friends, there were just those 4. Right now, again, the very same thing that I'm speaking about, that one woman whose boyfriend, who was a married man, passed away on her, is the very reason why most women are just unprepared to go out like that. That's the reason why they won't go out like that. Second best, God, He created men and women to be different in essence and function, right? What needs to be comprehended is that women need love. We need to be loved. And when we are loved, we feel secure, we feel ensconced. That's why women settle so very much, unfortunately, for being die rechte. In that a guy has, a rechte would be like a main chick. In that a guy literally will confess to you in your face that he's got 5 other women, but you're the main one. That's why so many women are happy to accept that, take it in their stride. Because the importance of being regarded as the one woman that a man can't afford to lose, that he has essentially said base camp at, is that valuable to a woman, enough for her to settle when a man that does not want to exercise self-control over his loins, to settle for him calling her main. We just take it, okay? If you think about the movie Baby Boy, Taraji was told the same thing by Tyrese. Yeah, I sleep with other women, but you're the one and I'm probably gonna marry you. Women are just running with that all over the show. And the reason why that's the case is because God made us to desire love from man, and our desire from now on will be for our husbands. And the Bible says that men love your wives the way that Christ loved the church, whereas with men it's respect, right? Women respect your husbands. So men thrive on respect, honor, elevation, while women thrive on that protected, ensconced space of love. Therefore, it's hard, like no man's business. I would imagine, I've never been a side piece. I would imagine how rough it must be to be second to a man, third, fourth, or fifth. So when I was on the come up, many of the women that were my friends personally, we had made vows with ourselves that we would never be with married men. And those who ended up capitulating to that, frankly, capitulated. They settled. They left themselves to do that. But it was not first choice. They did not go out seeking out a married man. They fell for one. They got seduced by one, and so ran with one because of that seduction. But they were not actively going out of their way to fish them out. Nobody wants to spend the next day after a man's birthday with him instead of his actual birthday. Nobody wants to be given what time of day to call a man. Nobody, because you can't just call him at whatever time. Nobody wants to be constantly booked into hotels instead of you see a man's apartment. Nobody wants to be seen on the 26th of December instead of Christmas, because the guy is busy spending Christmas with his wife and kids. Nobody wants to be spending important holidays, you get my point, but like the next day, or you get the second week of his leave while the wife has the first. Nobody wants a man standing up to go and answer a phone because you know that you're a mistress. Women want love. Women need love. And so because women want and need love, they tend to be generally avoidant of not having the dominant position in the life of a man. So to settle for being a side piece or a mistress it's largely not a woman's first choice. And on the come up, when I was coming up, most of my girls would never go out like that. Like, they rejected men that had girlfriends and of course men that had wives. And I only know of 4 women out of the plethora of women that I have encountered. I've only known 4 women who allowed themselves to be that thing, and their lives were difficult. The woman who was the baby mama of the man of the what do you call this? The woman that was the baby mama of her boss, the one who was the personal assistant. Once she gave that man a baby, he was all cold and aloof towards her, and frankly also abusive. He used to hit her. He used to slap her and stuff like that. But she rode it out because he was paying for her apartment and her life was made ever so slightly comfortable by him. And so she just kind of rode out that situation, but she was unhappy. And on top of that, she was cheating on him. He was cheating on his wife with her, and she was cheating on him with regular other boys that could not quite afford her way. That's just the problem with the love of money. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's always just a disquiet, no rest, and you have to be the one waiting by a phone for a man to call you instead of you being freely able to communicate with your lover or whatever. That's the problem. The woman who was the mistress, the one that was the career mistress, the one that was from 22 all the way up until the time we met her at 25, the mistress of some married white guy. That chick, she had a roster and a schedule. Like, she understood to tiptoe around the fact that this was a married man. Ugh. She understood herself as one that needed to tiptoe around this married man. And she was content with that being a thing. She knew that she would have to wait for him to call her. That apartment that he was paying for, that's where they would always meet. He would never ever go out there and see anything. That their conversations were restricted to certain things. They couldn't talk about certain things. It was taboo for her to even raise the fact that she's unhappy with being a mistress. She could not tell him, leave your wife for me. Because this dude was like, I'm not doing it. Like, so you either take it or leave it. Like, take it or leave it. And so she had these demarks. She took in her stride being second. She just took it in her stride. Ultimately, that woman, I would come to learn later on, she went on right ahead to marry her own husband. I remember just thinking, okay, she's married to her own husband. How can she ever trust her husband when she was such a willing mistress for so many years at the expense of another woman? The colleague that I had at Coco MTN that was tempted to cheat on her husband didn't, precisely because of just feeling scummy for being, never mind somebody's side floozy, but not being the main thing in the heart of a man. And then of course there is the friend that I made mention of, whose boyfriend, lover, married man died on her. He died on her. And when he died, she could not mourn with his friends, with his family. She couldn't be comforted by his people. She couldn't share tales or stories about this man in a memorial type of fashion, where it is that she is talking about how Jimmy did that, Jimmy did this, he was such a loving guy, he was that, like, you know, the stuff that comforts you when someone dies, when the world is hugging you because your man died. No one was hugging her because she was the side piece. She was told by one of his boys that he died, and he left it at that. She was left high and dry, amanzi, from bereavement, and ended up breaking the news to me because she had nobody to comfort her. That is something that women generally and inherently understand is problematic. And so most of us don't just go diving into it, okay? Most of us don't just go diving into it. Therefore, when an ecosystem is throwing itself at you, because it has taught itself sorcery, because it has learned a spell or two, because it has acquainted itself with spiritual manipulation, to then go and grab a society of women that generally just don't want to be number 2, 3, 4, or 5, and then make them happy to take the status of being number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. When men are graduated to a point of so much wickedness that they now are forcing women that are unprepared to be their side pieces and their mistresses to make them that. And these women are falling for it. These women are falling for it, plunging like one after the other, after the other, after the other. They're just plunging into this spiritual frenzy and chaos. Do you not see then how much danger we as women are in, at the mercy of these psychopathic men who are upset at the unpreparedness of certain women to go out like that? When I was on the come up, the great majority of my girls were unprepared to go out like that. I am starting to wonder how many are still holding fast to that now that they've crossed over the demarcation line of single to married. How many of my friends, my former friends, are cheating on husbands? How many of them have allowed themselves to be mistresses? How many single young women that are yet to be married are allowing themselves to be mistresses? I was watching something, a TikTok, okay? just yesterday of this beautiful young woman. The name of her TikTok was, "When he's busy ghosting me, I call his wife and do this." The TikTok was basically this woman getting on the phone with this man's wife and telling her that, "Tabo, can I speak with Tabo? Tabo's not here. Well, can you please just give him a message and let him know Can you please just tell Tabo that the children, the twins that are born are boys?" And this woman is like, "What do you mean twins are born are boys? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You telling me that you've got twin children with my husband? What a fish paste." And basically this woman was priding herself in being a mistress. Of course, I think it was a joke. It was not the real deal. But this is a young woman that is out here already toggling with the prospect of being a mistress and giving a man grief for ghosting her because he is with his wife for those hours. And she feels left out on a limb. And when I went into the comment section, nobody was busy talking about how it is that, "But why are you priding yourself in being a mistress in the first place?" People were just laughing. LOL, LOL. "Oh, you've got such pretty skin. Your face is so beautiful." Like, they're not commenting on the treachery of the adultery that this young woman is proliferating. But if you think even about the message in that TikTok, here it is that a young woman is frustrated by being ghosted by a married man. That is the thing that used to cause women to be unprepared to be with married men. Because I don't want to be ghosted. I don't want to have to call my man at certain times because you're not going to be careful to avoid catching him with his wife. I don't want to have to tiptoe around that. And certain mistresses are content with being the mistress, knowing that they are mistresses. They understand that that's like a whole thing, and they respect the rules. When women walk around in that level of wickedness, of course, I mean, what under heaven is going to stay David? What is going to stay David from committing genocide? It's like we're enablers. It's what I'm getting at. Women are enablers. But like I said, the majority of women, at least last time I checked, we're at the end now. We're at the end, so people are unfaithful. Women are not quite what they used to be, okay? I am 40. I was born in 1984, and on the come up, most of my crew of girls would never be seen dead with a married man. They had such a lofty morality to a point where they would never even steal a boyfriend from a chick, because there was just this inherent longing in women to be, to have a number one position in the heart of a man. This chipping away at that by women. Ooh, y'all. It has manufactured so much evil in your men. Y'all. I feel so bad for you. Like, I feel bad for you even though I can say, why ningziba? I don't know why you're ignoring me, women. I don't know why maybe it's because I'm born again. Yeah, the world hates disciples. That must be it. Mara, the thing that's pursuing me, I am not the only victim, and it has made amadoda enu insufferable. It has made your husbands insufferable. Where we gonna go? Messingena protection. Messingena abavikeli in men. Where are we gonna go when these people who've got grander muscle than us, who have been given spiritual authority by the God of the universe to lead, to protect, to serve, to care, when they drop this ball, when men drop this ball, where do we, guys, it's like being left naked before a nuke, an intercontinental ballistic missile. You can see it's coming to you. It is a guided missile. It's gonna land in your town and in your city, and your hands are tied. You know you're about to pass away. I guess the best thing you can do right now is get your affairs in order. Pray. Ask Usomandla Uguti, take my spirit to sing as goodly that I'm dying. Into your hands. Into your hands I commit my spirit. That's all you can do. When there's like an ICBM coming, targeting your region, you can't outrun that, girl. You can't. So you might as well just utanda zenje and seek the Lord's face to take your spirit into heaven, sing as. You're not gonna make it. Y'all have made me essentially say to God, into your hands I commit my spirit, because I see the ICBM coming. Nyayibona. Guys, this thing it don't bulai. And an ICBM it might be a guided missile targeting one particular region, but at the end of the day, a missile is a missile is a missile. A nuke is a nuke is a nuke. You might be targeting a school, but like I said, the shrapnel is going to go out in the radius, and it's going to pierce inhliziyo zabantu that were very far away from it. The collateral damage are those that, frankly, the missile was not striking, it was not targeting them. Worldly women that approve this wickedness of la madoda, they are happy with you. Bayaniegela. Kodwa, shrapnel girl. I might be the target for this ICBM, but you're the one that's catching the shrapnel. We are all gonna die. So basically, the evil of your men right now, lokusangana kwabo mabahlangene bonke, ni accepted so much, you have embraced it so much, that now you might as well just be getting your affairs in order. This here is a mass funeral, Lankutla, for women and children. Amadoda, when they fall apart, the whole world dies. Lankutla. This is a mass grave. This is a funeral for 20 people in one sitting. That is the days of apartheid. And we are burying 17-year-olds, 15-year-olds after some some men and women, they have no discretion, go and shoot kids because they're rioting. It's a mass grave. This is a holocaust of women and children by David with no Abigail. David with no Abigail. And I say David because David is a godly man, was a godly man, and yet he needed the helper suitable that Abigail was. So how much worse then when a man is not even godly? He's not regulated by the Holy Spirit, and unfortunately, the majority of men are not godly. The world, the road that leads to destruction, many enter into it. The road is narrow that leads to life, and only a few people find it. So the majority of men are not born again, meaning that whatever staying power by the Holy Spirit that David walks in naturally as a godly man, aiko in lamatota. Like, if the Bible says, it's written, I think it's 1 Peter 4, I stand corrected, but 3, that if the righteous are scarcely saved, what then for the ungodly and the sinner? If the righteous are scarcely saved, what then for the godly and the sinner? So if abazalwane, if amadoda that are born again are scarcely able to exercise restraint over that thing that makes them want to rule women with no discretion, what then for ungodly men and sinners? If righteous men scarcely struggle to love their wives as Christ loved the church, if righteous men scarcely struggle to listen to their women that their prayers might not be hindered, if righteous men scarcely struggle, if they scarcely, succeed to pray ceaselessly, essentially, if righteous men and women scarcely struggle, if they scarcely succeed, to do that which is right, how much worse then is it for labantu ebengena Holy Spirit? And that's the majority of them. It's an ICBM. It's a zombie apocalypse. It is a nuke coming for your towns. And all of y'all gotta now put your affairs in order. And the sad thing about it is, you can't even put your affairs in order. You don't know Christ. You can't afford to be dying. You can't afford to die right now. You are lost. And so you're not safe to die. The very woman that they're targeting with their ICBM, I can die. If I pass away, I'm Zulwini, guys. I go to heaven, it's a guarantee. Y'all need to understand, if I die today, I'm going to heaven. And you can't, but you're the ones that are catching the shrapnel. You're the ones that are out here, literally, the collateral damage. Like the thing that these men are now, it's entitled. And the reason why they are so entitled is because, like I said, the curse on Adam is that you're going to want to rule your wife. But then Christ calls men and says that don't be harsh to Abba and we love them as Christ loved the church. So a man that gets born again is one that recognizes that I don't just get to do what I want to do. A woman then rocks up and is able to, be this helper suitable, this peaceable and quiet spirit that is so precious in the sight of the Lord that causes a man to not do the most when he can do the most. That's a godly space. An ungodly one, a man who wants to rule a woman, just goes and tries to rule. And some of you are just letting it happen. South Africa is actively, presently trying to proliferate a most rubbish thing. In the entertainment industry, they are encouraging polygamy. The very thing that breaks women and shatters them. The very thing that makes us unprepared to be number 2. They just put it when we were once walking. We come from a time when we had overcome men's insistence upon polygamy, and now they're taking us back to Shaka Zulu days. Bare foster polygamy, bare foster second wife, third wife, mistress, side piece, ebatum. Kabuloi, guys, with witchcraft. Bare foster. They are not only proliferating it in the media, trying to make it look like it's okay, but they are forcing women to essentially walk in that which is inherently very hard for them to walk in. From now on, your desire will be for your husband. The thing that makes women fight each other, scratch each other's eyeballs out, is being shared by men. Women in the Bible who were shared by men just did not do right by either each other, or the one woman was always oppressed by the other. It does not work. That's why the Lord, when he calls men to the office of reverend, preacher, deacon, etc., he says he must be a husband of one wife, able to teach, above reproach, and his children must also be above reproach. Because God knows that there is something that compromises a man's character when he's got more than one wife. We know the indiscretion of David with Bathsheba. He had wives already at that stage, but he still messed up in that regard. Solomon, I don't have to tell you much about him. And he's how many? 300 wives and 400 wives and 300 concubines. Like, he was ridiculous. And what happened to him at the end of his life? A man that was considered the most wise, yet nonetheless in his death was deemed foolish. Because the indiscretion with his wives cost him discretion. It cost him the ability to essentially hold on to the clout he had. Solomon wrote the Song of Solomon. He wrote the Proverbs. Wisest man to ever live. And yet he walked in the very folly that he was counseling everybody not to. So he was essentially, to a certain extent, all talk and very little action. Many women mess a man up. They ruin men. Many women ruin men. Men who have only ever had one wife far excel in their ability to run a household, a church, whatever. Men busy in polygamy, and men who are in polygamy can't even have a church. They're not allowed to, according to God.